Imagine discovering a 4,000-year-old love letter. You carefully unfold it, expecting to read the oldest kiss in history. But then a shocking question hits you. What if humans had been kissing for tens of thousands of years before anyone ever wrote about it? No photographs, no videos, not even cave paintings clearly showing two people kissing. So how could archaeologists or scientists possibly know? Was kissing invented by civilization? Did it begin with kings and queens? Or did it start around a campfire long before cities, writing, or even farming existed? The answer is far stranger than most people imagine, because hidden inside ancient skeletons, forgotten clay tablets, human biology, and even the behavior of our closest relatives lies a story that stretches back to the very dawn of humanity. And by the end of this video, you may never think about a kiss the same way again. For decades, many historians believe kissing was a cultural invention. The idea seemed simple. As civilizations became more advanced, people developed customs to express romance, affection, and respect. Kissing, according to this view, was simply one of those customs. But recent discoveries have challenged that idea. In 2023, researchers Dr. Troels Pank Arbo from the University of Copenhagen and Dr. Sophie Lund Rasmussen published research examining ancient texts from Mesopotamia. Their study showed that people living more than 4,500 years ago were already describing romantic kissing in written records. More importantly, the researchers argued that kissing was probably far older than those texts themselves. That changes everything. Writing didn't create kissing. It merely preserved evidence of something people had likely been doing for thousands of years. But if kissing existed before writing, how far back does it really go? To answer that, scientists had to look somewhere unexpected, not at ancient books, but at our evolutionary relatives. Chimpanzees kiss, bonobos kiss. Even some monkeys press their lips together after conflicts or during moments of social bonding. These aren't romantic dates like humans experience today. Instead, the behavior helps reduce tension, rebuild trust, and strengthen relationships within the group. Evolutionary anthropologists see this as an important clue. If our closest living relatives display similar behaviors, then the roots of kissing may have existed long before modern humans appeared. In other words, the impulse may be millions of years older than civilization itself. But biology tells only part of the story. Archaeology provides another fascinating clue. Scientists studying prehistoric hunter-gatherers have found growing evidence that close family bonds, long-term partnerships, and cooperative parenting played a major role in human survival. Researchers like Dr. Sarah Blafford RDY, an evolutionary anthropologist, have argued that strong emotional connections between parents, children, and social groups help humans raise vulnerable infants who depended on adults for many years. Affection wasn't simply nice to have. It was a survival strategy. And if physical affection strengthened trust and cooperation, simple gestures such as touching faces, embracing, or kissing may have offered evolutionary advantages long before recorded history. Yet there is still a mystery. If kissing was so ancient, why don't we find it painted on cave walls? The answer reveals something surprising about what prehistoric artists chose to preserve, and it changes how we should interpret the silence of the archaeological record. Now here's where the mystery becomes even deeper. If kissing really existed long before written history, why don't we see it everywhere in prehistoric art? After all, ancient humans painted massive bison, charging mammoths, dangerous lions, mysterious symbols, and even human figures on cave walls. So, why not something as personal as a kiss? At first glance, it seems like powerful evidence that kissing didn't exist. But archaeologists warn that this conclusion is misleading. The truth is, prehistoric cave art was never meant to be a photo album of everyday life. Researchers have spent decades studying famous caves, such as Lascaux Cave and Chauvet Cave. These caves contain breathtaking paintings dating back between roughly 17,000 and 36,000 years. Yet despite thousands of images, they reveal surprisingly little about ordinary daily activities. You rarely see people eating dinner. You don't see families putting children to sleep. You don't see people brushing hair, cooking food, or comforting one another after a frightening hunt. That doesn't mean those things never happened. It simply means those moments weren't what artists chose to preserve. Many archaeologists believe cave paintings had symbolic, spiritual, or ceremonial purposes rather than serving as documentaries of daily life. So the absence of kissing in cave art doesn't prove it never existed. It only reminds us how incomplete the archaeological record really is. Imagine someone 20,000 years from now trying to understand our civilization using only monuments and government buildings. They might conclude humans never celebrated birthdays, hugged their children, or laughed with friends. The evidence would be incomplete. The same challenge faces archaeologists today. And that's why scientists often combine archaeology with another powerful tool, evolution. Because sometimes your own body remembers a story that history forgot. Think about what happens during a kiss. Your heart rate changes. Your pupils often become larger. Stress hormones begin to fall, while chemicals linked to pleasure and bonding increase. This isn't imagination. It's biology. Neuroscientists have found that kissing can trigger the release of chemicals such as dopamine and oxytocin, molecules involved in reward, attachment, and social bonding. These biological responses help explain why kissing feels emotionally significant across many human societies. Researchers like Dr. Helen Fisher spent years studying romantic attachment and argued that human pair bonding is supported by powerful brain systems that evolved to help partners cooperate while raising children. For our ancestors, raising a child wasn't a short-term commitment. Human babies are among the most dependent infants in the animal kingdom. Unlike newborn deer that can walk within hours, human children require years of protection, food, teaching, and care. That created enormous evolutionary pressure for adults to cooperate. Anything that strengthened trust between partners could increase the chances of children surviving. And that's where affectionate behaviors, including kissing, may have become especially valuable. But romance isn't the only explanation. In fact, some scientists believe kissing began for a completely different reason, one that has nothing to do with love. Picture a prehistoric mother sitting beside a small fire thousands of years ago. Her baby is too young to chew solid food. There are no blenders, no baby bottles, no jars of baby food. So she chews meat roots or buries herself before gently passing the softened food directly into the baby's mouth. This behavior, called pre-mastication, has been documented in cultures around the world and even among several other mammals. Anthropologists suggest that repeated mouth-to-mouth feeding may have made close facial contact feel familiar, comforting, and safe. Over thousands of generations, some researchers think affectionate mouth contact may have gradually taken on new meanings beyond feeding. It's an intriguing idea. Although scientists continue debating exactly how important pre-mastication was in the evolution of kissing, it shows that everyday survival behaviors can sometimes shape later social customs. But here's the twist that changes everything. What if kissing isn't actually universal? What if millions of people throughout history lived their entire lives without ever kissing romantically? And what does that reveal about whether kissing is an instinct or something culture helped shape? The answer surprised anthropologists, and it may completely change how you think about one of humanity's most intimate behaviors. That question has fascinated anthropologists for decades. If kissing is hardwired into human nature, then every culture should do it, right? Surprisingly, the answer is no. One of the most influential researchers to explore this question was Dr. Jankowiak. Along with his colleagues, he examined hundreds of cultures from around the world to see how common romantic kissing really was. Their findings challenge one of our biggest assumptions. While romantic kissing appears in many societies, it is not practiced everywhere. Some traditional cultures have shown little or no evidence of romantic mouth-to-mouth kissing. Instead, people express affection through forehead touching, nose rubbing, embracing, holding hands, or other gestures that carry deep emotional meaning. This discovery led to an important debate. If some cultures don't kiss romantically, does that mean kissing is simply a learned tradition? Not necessarily. Many scientists now believe the answer lies somewhere in between. Humans are born with the biological capacity for close physical affection. How that affection is expressed, however, can vary dramatically depending on culture, environment, and tradition. Think about greetings. In some countries, friends hug. In others, they bow. Some shake hands. Some place a hand over the heart. Different behaviors, the same purpose. Kissing may work in a similar way. The biological desire to form close emotional bonds may be universal, while the exact expression of that bond differs across societies. And then there is another fascinating clue, our sense of smell. It may sound strange, but every time two people kiss, they exchange far more than affection. Scientists have discovered that humans can unconsciously detect tiny chemical signals from one another. While researchers continue debating exactly how much these cues influence attraction, studies suggest that smell plays an important role in how people perceive potential partners. Evolutionary biologist Dr. Klaus Wedekind became famous for research suggesting that people are often attracted to the scent of individuals with different immune system genes, known as the major histocompatibility complex, or MHC. Why would that matter? Because greater genetic diversity in these immune-related genes may provide advantages for future offspring by helping them respond to a wider variety of diseases. In simple terms, your brain could be gathering information before you even realize it. Some researchers think kissing may help people subconsciously evaluate a potential partner through smell, taste, and other sensory cues. It's almost as if evolution built a tiny biological compatibility test into one of our most intimate behaviors. Of course, human relationships are far more complex than biology alone. Personality, trust, shared values, and life experiences matter enormously. But evolution may still whisper quietly beneath the surface. Then archaeologists uncovered another remarkable piece of evidence. Ancient clay tablets from Mesopotamia didn't just mention kissing between lovers. Some texts described kissing in religious rituals. Others refer to kisses exchanged as signs of respect, loyalty, or social status. This tells us something important. By more than 4,000 years ago, kissing wasn't a single behavior. It already had many meanings: love, friendship, respect, family, ceremony. That level of cultural complexity doesn't appear overnight. It usually develops over countless generations, which makes researchers like Dr. Troels Pank-Arboe and Dr. Sophie Lund Rasmussen believe the practice itself almost certainly predates the earliest written records by a very long time. But perhaps the biggest clue of all isn't found in ancient texts or buried artifacts. It's found inside every one of us. Have you ever noticed how naturally parents kiss their babies on the forehead? Or how children often copy affectionate behaviors without anyone formally teaching them? Humans seem remarkably prepared to express affection through touch. Whether it's a hug, a gentle hand on the shoulder, or a kiss, physical closeness helps build trust and emotional security. Psychologists have repeatedly shown that safe, affectionate contact supports healthy emotional development throughout childhood. In other words, affection isn't just about romance. It's one of the oldest survival tools our species has ever possessed. And that realization leads to one final question. If kissing helped humans build stronger relationships, could it have quietly shaped the success of our entire species? The answer may be far more significant than anyone once imagined. So, when did ancient humans actually start kissing? The most honest answer is also the most fascinating one. Nobody knows the exact moment. There isn't a single cave painting that says, the first kiss happened here. There isn't a fossil that can preserve a kiss. And there isn't a written record old enough to tell us where it all began. But when scientists combine archaeology, evolutionary biology, anthropology, neuroscience, and ancient history, a remarkable picture starts to emerge. The oldest written descriptions of romantic kissing come from ancient Mesopotamia, dating back more than 4,500 years. Yet researchers like Dr. Troels Pank-Arboe and Dr. Sophie Lund Rasmussen argue that these texts almost certainly describe a tradition that had already existed for countless generations. At the same time, our closest living relatives, chimpanzees and bonobos, display forms of mouth-to-mouth contact that strengthen social bonds and reduce conflict. Our own brains release powerful chemicals associated with attachment and trust during affectionate contact. Human infants depend on adults longer than almost any other animal, making strong emotional relationships one of the greatest survival advantages our ancestors ever developed. When all of these clues are placed together, one conclusion becomes difficult to ignore. Kissing probably wasn't invented by a king, or a queen, or even by the first civilization. It was most likely shaped gradually over thousands, or perhaps even millions, of years as human relationships became more complex. But here's something even more incredible. Kissing isn't really about lips. It's about trust. Think about it. Allowing another person to come that close requires an extraordinary level of comfort. For prehistoric humans living in a world filled with predators, disease, hunger, and constant danger, trust could mean the difference between life and death. A trusted hunting partner shared food. A trusted companion helped defend the group. Trusted parents raised children who had a better chance of surviving into adulthood. Strong social bonds helped small communities overcome challenges that no individual could face alone. Anthropologists have long argued that humanity's greatest evolutionary advantage wasn't sharper teeth or greater strength. It was cooperation. Unlike mammoths, cave lions, or saber-toothed cats, humans survived because they worked together. They communicated. They cared for one another. They passed knowledge from one generation to the next. And small acts of affection, whether a hug, a reassuring touch, or perhaps a kiss, may have quietly reinforced those relationships for thousands of generations. That doesn't mean every ancient culture kissed in exactly the same way. As we've seen, different societies developed different traditions for expressing love, respect, and friendship. Some kissed, others touched noses, some embraced, others bowed or placed a hand over the heart. The expression changed, but the need to build human connection remained remarkably constant. And maybe that's the real story. When we ask, when did ancient humans start kissing? We're really asking something much bigger. When did humans begin expressing love, trust, and connection in ways that made us human? The answer may never be found in a single archaeological discovery. Instead, it's hidden across thousands of small clues. In ancient clay tablets buried beneath desert sands. In prehistoric cave paintings that reveal only fragments of everyday life. In the behavior of chimpanzees and bonobos living today. In the chemistry of the human brain. And even in the instincts we still carry every time we show affection to someone we care about. The next time you see two people kiss, it might seem like an ordinary moment, but in reality, you could be witnessing the latest chapter of a story that began long before cities, long before writing, long before history itself. A story that stretches back into humanity's deepest past, reminding us that while technology, languages, and civilizations have changed beyond recognition, our need for connection has remained surprisingly timeless. Perhaps that's why this simple gesture has survived for so many thousands of years. Not because it was invented, but because it helped keep us together. And sometimes, staying together was the greatest survival strategy of all. If you've enjoyed uncovering the hidden origins of one of humanity's oldest mysteries, there are countless more waiting beneath the surface of history. The past is full of everyday behaviors we rarely question, but each one has an incredible story to tell. Until next time, stay curious, because history is far stranger than fiction.